So welcome everyone. We're going to give it a minute just for folks to join and hop on. So as you join, if you could feel free to add in the chat where you're tuning in from. Thanks again, everyone. Welcome. Please add in the chat where you're tuning in from. I already see we got across the US and even around the world. So welcome everyone. We'll get started in just a moment. All right, well, welcome again. My name is Rob Watson, and I'm the Executive Director of EdRedesign and lecturer here at Harvard Graduate School of Education. And it's my pleasure to welcome you to today's screening celebrating the second episode of the incredible new YouTube series, Dream On. Today's event will start with brief remarks from me and Dr. Russell Booker, the CEO of Spartanburg Academic Movement, one of the Spartanburg leaders advancing community transformation through cross-sector collaboration. After hearing from Russell, we'll quickly get to screening Dream On's second episode released just this morning. The second episode travels to Spartanburg, South Carolina, the third fastest growing metro area in the United States, to visit its Northside neighborhood to learn how a unique coalition of residents, government officials, school district leaders, a local StriveTogether Cradle to Career Network member, a local purpose-built community quarterback organization, and many others collaborated to catalyze one of the most inspiring neighborhood transformations in today's United States. Following the viewing of the episode, I'm going to be joined by Jennifer Blatz, President and CEO of StriveTogether, Dr. Booker, Carol Naughton, CEO of Purpose Built Communities, and David Summers, CEO of Northside Development Group. And so as we get started, I want to briefly share the EdRedesign Lab's commitment to Dream On. We believe this series can transform how we tell stories about upward social and economic mobility in the US. Our organization's mission is simple: ensure every child and young person, regardless of background, has a fair shot in school and in life. We work with communities to break down barriers to opportunity from cradle to career. Striving for real solutions to seemingly intractable problems inspired Dream On, and we've been lucky to join forces with two outstanding journalists, Joe Posner, co-creator of Vox Video, and Emmy Award-winning journalist James Watson, with whom we set out to create a mission-driven YouTube show that brings together rigorous, independent reporting and the best of creator-led storytelling to highlight evidence-based solutions from communities across the country. And so without further ado, I'm excited to introduce you to one of our heroes, Dr. Russell Booker, the CEO of Spartanburg Academic Movement and a joint senior fellow of the EdRedesign Lab and the initiative of the superintendent as civic leader here at the Harvard Graduate School of Education. Russell also serves on the board of StriveTogether and Purpose Built Communities. Russell, the floor is yours to tell us a bit more about the work in Spartanburg.
Thank you, Rob, and good morning, especially good morning to our friends and family back in Spartanburg, South Carolina, and to those of you who are joining us from all across the country. Um, Before I share, let me just say a word about Spartanburg. The title of this is Dream On, The American Dream Isn't Dead. And as we look to 250 years, just a few weeks from now, celebrating 250 years of this nation's birth, uh, just have to say that Spartanburg has a rich history in shaping um, that important milestone. Our Spartan Regiment played a key role in turning the tide of the American Revolution, and Spartanburg gets his name from those patriots who fought during that time period. We also are in a community that, really built a strong economy around the textile mills. Spartanburg was oftentimes referred to as the Lowell of the South. And at one time, I think when it came to the economies across the country, we had one of the strongest. But those mills went by the wayside, and that is still evident today as you see the smokestacks reminding us of a time that has since passed. And in 2008, we found ourselves looking at a critical piece of data that showed what educational attainment looked like across our community. And with that, we knew that Spartanburg wasn't going to be in the game unless we really started to tackle this. And there was our friends at our Chamber of Commerce, now One Spartanburg Inc., who commissioned a task force to come together to study this particular crisis. 10 recommendations came out of that. One was to set a vision for our community, and two was to stand up a backbone organization that will wake up every day and pay attention to that. So in 2012, that organization was formed in the form of the Spartanburg Academic Movement. We quickly affiliated with a national intermediary called StriveTogether, and you're going to hear from Jennifer Blatz, who showed us how to do this collective impact work. And at the same time, within the Northside community, another nonprofit was forming, the Northside Development Group, to really take a look at what it takes to transform a community. And you're going to hear from David. But it was a national intermediary that showed us how to do that work in the form of purpose-built communities and Carol Naughton and her team. So I'm looking forward to introducing all of these different partners to you as a part of this video. This work continues to evolve, and being in partnership with all of you around the country as we're on this shared place-based journey just has been a privilege of a lifetime. So Rob, back to you guys as we share this.
Thanks so much, Dr. Booker. So there's no better way to tell the story of partnerships and community-driven collaborative action work in Spartanburg than the latest Stream On episode, which you'll see in a moment. To succeed in our efforts to bring these stories to a broader audience, we need to show YouTube that people want stories of solutions and not just problems. So the best way to do that is strong views and engagement. And today, on launch day, so if enough people watch and interact with the episode, YouTube will start recommending it to others who care about these issues but haven't heard these stories yet. So instead of screening it here on Zoom, we're asking each of you to watch it directly on YouTube. So here's what you need to do. Go to the episode on YouTube, which you can find by clicking the link in the chat that was just shared by Julie. Please watch the full video from start to finish. Completing the whole episode is critical to beating the YouTube algorithm. If you have a YouTube account, please like and comment on the video in the YouTube channel. 5 words or more is very helpful, and share moments that stood out or what you learned. A few more quick notes. You don't need to leave Zoom. You can please stay here and go off camera mute. And you can join us right after for a conversation about the work in Spartanburg. If you have trouble accessing the video, our team is monitoring the chat and can help if you send a message. Also know we're not monetized, so you shouldn't see ads, but if you do, we're not earning from them. YouTube is. And after the video, we'll regroup here for Q&A with our esteemed panelists. If you finish early, drop your questions in the Q&A box. All right, so with that, let's get started, everyone, and we'll see you back. All right, well, welcome back, everyone, and thanks again for those of you who hopped on maybe a few minutes late. Welcome back to our friends tuning in across the United States and a few folks from other countries. We saw France and the UK and Canada, so grateful to have so many great colleagues and friends on with us today. And just a quick note, if for some reason you were not able to watch the full video, we just asked you can hit pause now and then conclude watching it after today's webinar. But hopefully you've had a chance to see a good portion of it, really featuring the incredible work in Spartanburg's Northside neighborhood. And so I'm excited to welcome onto the virtual stage 4 leaders who are driving transformational change at both the national and local level in support of Spartanburg. Again, Dr. Russell Booker, Jennifer Blatz, Carol Naughton, and David Summers, if they can come on camera. So you've already met Dr. Booker, both on the onset of today's event and in the video itself. I'm excited to also welcome another Spartanburg leader joining us, David Summers, the CEO of Northside Development Group, which empowers resident-led community transformation by encouraging and managing the redevelopment of the Northside community. I'm thrilled to have here an incredible colleague, friend, and partner in crime, Jennifer Blatz, the CEO of StriveTogether, a national network of community partnerships that brings together neighbors, including youth and families, nonprofits, businesses, schools, and more to work toward a future where youth can thrive in their communities. As you heard earlier, Spartanburg Academic Movement, led by Dr. Booker, is a StriveTogether Cradle to Career Network member. We're also joined by the incomparable Carol Naughton, the CEO of Purpose-Built Communities, purpose-built partners with local leaders across the country to deliver sustainable neighborhood transformation in one generation, improving conditions in housing, education, well-being, and economic vitality so families experience upward mobility, improved health, and clear pathways to prosperity. Northside Development Group, led by David, is a purpose-built community quarterback organization. And I also want to welcome again that Dream On host and co-producer Joe Posner is also here with us, as well as James Watson. Previously, Joe was the creative leader behind Vox Video, working with Vox co-founder Ezra Klein. Where under Joe's tenure, Vox amassed over 2 billion views for its videos and 10 million subscribers for its award-winning YouTube channel. So what I'm going to do now is ask each panelist to provide a brief introduction to their involvement in this work, any reactions they might want to share on the episode, and we're going to start with Russell.
Yep. Well, first of all, let me just say the spring performance of Jungle Book was outstanding. So you got to see the practice, but they had a wonderful spring performance. Um, so I came to the district, Spartanburg School District 7 in 2009. And when I arrived in the school district, one of my first conversations was with the then Mayor Bill Barnett, who you all saw in the video. And I'll never forget Bill and I sitting down, and he said two things to me. He said, Russell, as the school district goes, so goes the city. And at the same time, he said, as the city goes, so goes the school district. And essentially, what Bill was trying to say was, if we're going to move this community forward, we've got to be in partnership with one another. And let me say, if you can bring a school superintendent and a mayor together and get them on the same page, I think you can move mountains in communities. Um, as a part of that, Joe held up that big transformation plan. I was invited in to be a part of that transformation planning process because they centered education and the children as a part of that. So being able to be a part of that work early on really was my introduction into the work of purpose-built communities. And at the same time, you heard about the work with continuous improvement and really all those proof points that we know are essential to making sure kids are reaching those academic milestones. That was the work of Strive Together. So being able to be in partnership with both of those entities and particularly centering the children, I think is really what brought me into this work, and that's what keeps me in this work.
Thanks so much for that, Russell. Jennifer, would love to bring you into the conversation to talk about your involvement with this incredible story and Strive Together more broadly.
Yeah, thank you, Rob, and thank you, Russell. So, Strive Together is a national movement working to put millions more young people on a path to economic mobility. And we do that work through our national network of 70 cradle to career, cross sector, place based partnerships. And those partnerships are working across 29 states and reaching more than 14 million young people. Spartanburg Academic Movement, as you heard, is one of our exemplary partnerships in the network. I've had the privilege of getting to work with the Spartanburg Academic Movement now for more than a decade. Have visited Spartanburg, I think, more than any of the places in our network that I visited. And it was wonderful to see the amazing community showcased in this way through the documentary. But Strive Together's proven approach really focuses on supporting communities to build what we call civic infrastructure. So unlike physical infrastructure like roads and bridges that you can very clearly see, it's a little harder to see civic infrastructure, but when a community has it, you know it's there. And I think that you can truly see that through today's presentation of today's video, is that every stakeholder in a community is aligned around a shared vision for improving outcomes for young people. And as Dr. Booker just said, centering young people, holding young people at the center. And this approach requires, as you heard from the video, also data-driven improvement. And so at Strive Together, we hold 7 key milestones as a proxy for what it really takes for young people to be on a path toward that American dream. So starting at kindergarten readiness, reading at grade level by 3rd grade, taking advanced math pathways at the middle grade, graduating high school, enrolling in post-secondary, completing some form of post-secondary and entering a career. It's really that continuum of outcomes that when a community is aligned around those outcomes, we can see amazing things happen. So thanks for having me here today. And it's so great to see Spartanburg showcased in this way.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. David, would love to bring you in the conversation. What an incredible story of neighborhood transformation, of resident-led leadership. Would love for you to weigh in in your role at Northside Development Group.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. So we at Northside are a purpose-built community, and the work that we do is hyper-local. So the Northside neighborhood is really only 450 acres, but the fact that it's so small and concentrated is a portion of what allows us to be so intimately involved with our neighbors and families and to understand what the needs are. The video did an amazing job of highlighting the Northside Voyagers and the partnership that we have from a resident-led community development organization. So there are four pillars within Purpose Built that we focus on. A portion of that was demonstrated in the video, but just quickly, so mixed income housing. So we do for sale, for rent, we do owner occupied rehab, and we have emergency rental assistance. And all these under our mixed income housing finance pillar are specifically focused on ensuring that families have a safe, stable place to live. Their anti-displacement efforts also, and things that ensure that our neighbors and families can stay for a long time. Our Cradle to College pipeline, in partnership with Sam and the work that we do with the Early Learning Center, Cleveland Academy of Leadership, and our Family Academy, who also serves our middle school and high schools, also ensures that, again, students and caregivers are getting the best possible support they can have to have academic outcomes that are going to set them up for success later. Under community wellness, we talked about the Dr. TK Gregg Community Center. We also have a federally qualified health center. Access Health, which is one of our partners through Spartanburg Regional, provides access to community members who are under or uninsured. We also have a farmers market every Saturday. And so there are a number of ways from a community wellness perspective that we're driving additional health outcomes in the North Side. And then finally, on economic mobility, we have an unbelievable entrepreneurship incubator program called Start Me. We just celebrated 10 years of that program. We've got over 150 Start Me entrepreneur graduates. 90% of our graduates are still in business. And as of today, we now have 11 who have graduated at some point and moved to the point where they're millionaires. And so we're developing not only entrepreneurs, but generational wealth in the North Side, along with programs like Redegree and other programs that help community members get back into things that are going to help them provide economic mobility and stability for their families. So we're so proud to be a part of this work and thankful for all the partners who are able to make this happen.
Thanks so much, David. Carol, I want to bring you into the mix. You've been at this work a long time. You have supported Spartanburg closely and done this work in Atlanta and in so many other places. Would love for you to share your reflections with us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Rob. And I just say, what a beautiful film. Just an amazing film that captures the heart and soul, the hard work and the strategy at play in creating a community that lifts everybody up. I've had an opportunity to work in Spartanburg since really 2010, although my first conversation with Spartanburg goes back to 2002 when I first met Bill Barnett on a trip to Atlanta. So this is a community that I think demonstrates some really special qualities that are really focused and are part of the DNA of Spartanburg, and that really were built and refined all the way along. I want to acknowledge we heard Bill Barnett's voice and his role as a leader and bringing other people to the table. I want to also acknowledge Kurt McPhail as somebody who's an organizer, right? At the heart of an organizer at this work. And he really shaped how the work was done and really helped us become much more resident-centered, not just in Spartanburg, but really influenced the whole purpose-built network and the whole purpose-built approach. And we've continued to build that. We've probably sent 1,000 people to Spartanburg over the years. Sorry about that, guys. In order to demonstrate that real commitment to resident voice and power, which we see all the way through. David did a beautiful job explaining the purpose-built model, so I won't do that. But I want to say fundamentally, we know that what surrounds us shapes us. And by creating neighborhoods that offer the kinds of amenities that everyone wants, that create the kinds of economic diversity that can lead to economically diverse friendships, we know is a really important part of putting people on a pathway to happy, healthy, choice-filled lives. And that's what we're trying to do. We're working now in 60 neighborhoods across the country, and are excited about the outcomes that we're seeing all along the way. And Spartanburg is tip of the spear. So proud of what everyone has done in Spartanburg to be able to bring this community the resources that are worthy of the people who live there.
Thanks so much, Carol. So we're going to do a few quick questions before we have everyone end on time. So we're going to go back to Russell and David first. There's some good questions popping up in the chat. So I would love if you want to take a look. We have questions about economic connectedness, about how to transform neighborhoods, ensure that as the neighborhood transforms, and Joe covered this in the video a bit of, the forces of gentrification, allowing economic development to come, but also ensuring that everyone enjoys in those benefits. So, Russell, you are a master at thinking about how to piece different strategies together. We know it's not just one thing that can transform a place. It's many things, it's many leaders, it's many institutions coming together. I wonder if you'd help share a bit more about how you see that coming to life historically in Spartanburg and today, and then we'll go to you, David, to talk a bit more about this from the Northside perspective.
Well, I think it begins with really understanding what is collective impact, and that Jennifer shared a little bit. It starts with getting everyone aligned around a common agenda. Um, and one of the things that I've come to find, the easiest agenda to align people around today, it's going to be your children. It's going to be children, it's going to be families. So just to share a little bit about how this is at play, not only on the north side, but across our community as we're advancing our comprehensive movement 2030 plan. You think about the role that housing plays. It impacts the schools. So it's important that the housing authority and Shantae and her work, they're at the table. You think about the importance of health. So, we mentioned VCOM, we've mentioned Regenesis Healthcare, we've mentioned the hospital system, we've mentioned Birth Matters. They all play a central role in this. Philanthropy plays a role in this. I think about our joint funders. I think about those individual philanthropists. I think about the many corporations who are investing. You need the public sector to sustain this work. So our school system, our city government, our school boards play a role in this. We're now establishing a children's cabinet to deepen this work now across sectors, working with the city of Spartanburg and the mayor. Uh, so it takes our faith community. So there's so many different partners that I could mention, but the goal is how can we continue to bring everyone around the table? So got to have a common agenda. We've got to make sure we're sharing data. We have data sharing agreements across institutions in Spartanburg now. You've got to have constant communication with one another. So, we've got working groups that are constantly coming together. How are we doing? What's working? What's not working? And then you just got to make sure that everyone's activities are mutually reinforcing what everyone is doing. And you also have to have backbones. It doesn't mean you got one organization. SAM can't do this work by itself. NDG can't do this work by itself. But you got to have really strong backbones to serve as those conveners and to kind of make sure that we're pulling everyone together. So that's what it looks like. You'd have to come visit, Rob, as you guys did back in October to see it at work. But at the core, it's a strong collective impact agenda.
Thanks so much, Russell. I can personally attest as someone who took that road trip myself. Spartanburg, you're gonna have too many people knocking on your doors very soon, but it's one of the best experiences I've had in my life. David, would love to bring you into the mix to weigh in on what you think some of the secret sauce of resident-led leadership looks like. It's such a profound example of really investing in local leaders to advance the work and build a collective vision. Wonder what you would share about that and what you think you might leave with our folks here. So curious about how to do this in their own context.
Yeah, absolutely, Rob. There's a term that's becoming more popular called withintrification, which I think is the definition of which is the transformation that we typically consider of all these other assets and resources and the way a community transforms being led by its neighbors and its residents. And I think that is at the heart of what we've seen in Spartanburg's Northside and in many other purpose-built communities. Part of the way that happens is exactly what Dr. Booker described also, is all the partnerships that make it happen. So in addition to the fact that we're helping these communities empower themselves and honoring the fact that they have the expertise, what they often need is the capacity. They need horsepower, they need partnerships, and they need trust. And I think that is a lot of what's been delivered here in the North Side. And even when I mention trust, it's not, there's one portion of earning the trust of the community. And certainly Bill Barnett is famous for saying that progress moves at the speed of trust. But also what has to happen is for those outside entities to trust the community. there is a certain level of expertise that is already residing there that oftentimes the outside entities don't give the same credit and credibility to those voices at the table. And so ensuring that we're lifting them up and that they're having the opportunity to lead the way is super important. And so our partners like the city of Spartanburg, the opportunity to actually control land through the city, through lending partners and others who have been really involved in us has helped. But this idea with gentrification is what's led in the North Side, and that really is due to having resident leaders who have been raised up and been given the trust that they can do the work.
Thanks so much, David. Jennifer, would love to get you back in the conversation. I know we've had some questions even come in from folks about, I want to do this in my place. How do I do it? What is Strive Together doing to support communities in its network and beyond?
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I shared a couple of links in the chat, but Strive Together, we are working to support communities to build this type of infrastructure through a number of resources, but most importantly, our training hub. The Strive Together Training Hub it has available courses for leaders in communities who want to learn and build competency for doing this type of work in their community. It's all free, but if you go to strivetogether.org, you can find a link to the Training Hub courses, and I hope you'll sign up and take some. Also, I shared a link to placebasedpartnerships.org, www.placebasedpartnerships.org. That is a resource, a website that includes resources. You can actually put in who you are and what you want to do in your community and be connected to many of our organizations, including purpose-built communities and Strive Together, but as well as other organizations who are national organizations who are supporting building this type of infrastructure in communities across the country.
Thanks so much, Jennifer. And Carol, I'd love for you to share a bit more about, the work that Purpose Built is doing to support neighborhood organizations across the country, and also any other reflections you want to share that you think would be great for this audience to know about the work in Spartanburg and beyond.
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. So Purpose Built is organized as a not-for-profit organization. We offer our support to neighborhoods who are interested in implementing this model that is designed to put people on a pathway to economic mobility and better health outcomes. We offer our services without fee. So we are a pro bono organization. We raise money so we can offer our services to support folks who want to really transform their neighborhood to put people on a pathway to economic mobility. We call ourselves neighborhoodists because we recognize that neighborhoods are really powerful engines of change and are really essential in, again, remedying the really sticky policies that were rampant across our country for 100 years that advantaged some neighborhoods and disadvantaged others. And that advantage usually broke down along racial lines, right? So part of what we are doing is being very specific about how we create opportunities in neighborhoods where people live, in neighborhoods of concentrated poverty, where more than 30% of families live below the federal poverty rate. We're really focused on how we bring those resources and strategies to bear with the community members to create a financeable, actionable, resident-centered plan to create more opportunities for more people.
Thanks, Carol. And before we close, Joe, I wanted to bring you in. It's been incredible to see the work you've been covering across the country. I wonder if you do two things. Maybe one, just say a quick word about how did you approach capturing such robust cross-sector, multifaceted work? But then I'd also love for you to tell us a bit more about where Dream On is headed. What are you seeing on the ground? What are you excited about in the months and years to come?
Oh, thank you, Rob. You guys have heard enough from me. Thank you so much to everybody for watching it. And I guess this is the last bit. I feel like this is a story about a collaboration that spans a lot of groups that often are painted as enemies of each other, right? And that's just not true, right? When you come together around a common goal, almost anybody can collaborate. That's definitely true about this project too, right? Like what was hard about it, I'm so glad to be working with James and my colleague Nishta and so many others, and with the EdRedesign Lab. It would not be possible without that kind of collaboration. And so the hardest thing is always what to cut out, right? Like I actually want these stories to be shorter because I want them to reach more people. It's really hard because the entire goal is to celebrate those collaborations at the same time. So we're honestly, we're looking to learn, right? This is an early look at this series, and I hope we evolve. We so appreciate you watching, but also we really appreciate your feedback and also your understanding that like that figuring out how to do this, right? Celebrate a collaboration while like naturally a story has to focus on like some characters is difficult. And if you know of other stories like this, I mean, that's something that you can offer, right? We, all of us, including EdRedesign, want to learn about what are the most effective, surprising, interesting projects that actually help move the needle on economic mobility. And we're working on future stories now. I'm so thrilled. I don't want to give anything away, but there isn't really anything to give away. It's just that we're finding more places, going to them, and then getting incredibly inspired and trying to find the through line through it. Thank you so much, everybody. I don't want to make you late to your next thing.
Well, thank you, Joe. We're going to close in just a moment. I just think that hopefully folks understand that the big idea of this is that for every problem we're facing in this country, there's a community, there's a neighborhood with a piece of the puzzle in solving it. And so we're grateful to our friends from Spartanburg for schooling us today, for our colleagues from Purpose Built and Strive Together for this national movement being catapulted across the country, and to our audience for joining us. So again, please like and comment on this episode, subscribe to Dream On in the YouTube channel, sign up for updates with the Dream On Club. The channel will continue to churn out short form videos, so please take a look at that. Make sure your mama, your daddy, your grandmother, your brother, your sister, your uncle, your auntie all know about this. We need to make sure get 3 people in your network to watch this today. We need to break that algorithm with good news. And we hope you'll help us in continuing to build a story about reclaiming the American dream at the community level across the U.S. And I want to thank again the EdRedesign team with a special shout out to Julie Allen, who's on point for us. Joe and James Watson, our incredible co-producers, Dave Mayers, Nista Shanti, Jen Chu, Dion Lee, the Hearthland Foundation for betting big on this project, and our many friends and partners who I know are on this call. We hope today's story is a shot in the arm to keep going and transform the places that we call home. The best is yet to come, and we'll see you soon. Take care, everyone.